Then, what advantage has the Jew? Or what is the value of circumcision? Much in every way. To begin with, the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God. What if some were unfaithful? Does their faithlessness nullify the faithfulness of God? By no means. Let God be true, though every one were a liar, as it is written, that you may be justified in your words and prevail when you are judged. But if our unrighteousness serves to show the righteousness of God, what shall we say? That God is unrighteous to inflict wrath on us? I speak in a human way. By no means. For then, how could God judge the world? But if through my lie God's truth abounds to his glory, why am I still being condemned as a sinner? And why not do evil that good may come? As some people slanderously charge us with saying, their condemnation is just. Teachings from Romans 3, 1-8. 1. God's faithfulness is unchanging. No matter how far we stray or how often we falter, God's faithfulness stands firm. He is not swayed by our weaknesses or failures. His promises endure beyond human error. Just as his love is unbreakable, his faithfulness doesn't waver. We can trust that he will always be there, guiding us back when we fall short. Takeaway: God's consistency gives us a foundation we can rely on in a world that constantly shifts. It's a reminder that our worth doesn't depend on perfection, but on his steadfast love. When you feel unworthy or distant, remember that God's loyalty remains the same. He's inviting you back every time. 2. God's justice is perfect and unbiased. In Romans, we're reminded that God's judgments are not partial or unfair. His justice is absolute. He sees every heart, every intention, and every hidden moment. His justice isn't just about correction, but about preserving the goodness and order he created in the world. Takeaway: in today's world, we see so much injustice, and it's easy to feel like some people get away with harm. But God's justice never fails. When things seem unfair, trust that he sees it all and will bring true justice in his time. This reminder can free you from holding on to anger, knowing that God handles everything with wisdom beyond our understanding. 3. Integrity and truth in every action. This passage calls us to honor God in our daily lives by living with integrity, even when no one else is watching. It's easy to justify small compromises or to let things slide because no one will know. But real faith is lived out in choices that reflect God's truth, big and small. Takeaway: choose to live in a way that reflects God's character. This isn't about trying to be perfect. It's about letting God's goodness guide you in every action. In moments where you feel tempted to cut corners or justify shortcuts, let this reminder challenge you to live with honesty and respect for what's right. R4. God's grace doesn't excuse sin. Though our failings contrast with God's goodness, his grace isn't meant as a free pass for wrongdoing. Instead, it calls us to grow, transform, and honor him. The grace we receive is a motivation to live in alignment with God's truth, not as an excuse to ignore it. Takeaway: recognize God's grace as a call to rise above excuses and pursue a better path. Instead of using grace to justify shortcomings, let it inspire you to become more like him, letting go of habits or choices that hold you back. It's an invitation to a life that shines with purpose, love, and sincerity. 5. God's justice and faithfulness apply personally to us. God's justice isn't just a concept out there. It's active and personal. At times, we might downplay or rationalize things in our own lives. We might think, surely God understands this. It's not hurting anyone. But Romans reminds us to hold ourselves accountable, not by comparing with others, but by God's standards of goodness. Takeaway: this passage encourages personal accountability, free from self-criticism. Instead, it's about living in God's light, where he can guide and grow you. When you let God's truth shape your life, it becomes an opportunity to walk in honesty and purpose, letting go of things that no longer align with his heart. Bringing this into your day. As you go forward, consider these steps to apply these teachings in practical ways. 1. Pray for insight. Ask God to show you areas in your life where you may need his truth and justice. Invite his presence to guide you in every choice. 2. Choose integrity in small decisions. Throughout the day, notice moments where you're tempted to justify or minimize actions. Let these be opportunities to reflect God's character by choosing truth and honesty, even in the smallest actions. 3. Release anger or resentment. When faced with something unfair, take it to God in prayer. Release it, knowing He handles all things justly in His time. 4. Rely on God's steadfastness. Remember, even when we fail, God remains faithful. When things feel uncertain or you're struggling, hold on to the truth that He is with you, unchanging in His love and guidance. For heck, these lessons from Romans invite us to live with integrity, faithfulness, and a deep trust in God's perfect justice. As you reflect on them, let them encourage you to live with purpose, honesty, and hope, letting God's love and truth be your foundation.